PR Connections Radio presents
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele, and we have a really good show planned for you tonight as we're going to be breaking down and discussing the Henderson Silver Knights of the American League, of the American Hockey League, the affiliate of the Vegas Golden Knights. And what we're going to be doing is kind of looking over what has happened recently with the Henderson Silver Knights and really discuss what has been going on in the AHL over the past couple of weeks. There's a lot of an interesting and really engaging content that we could be talking about with the Henderson Silver Knights. Now, before we begin, go to PRConnectionsRadio.com. Check out all the amazing content they have on the network. They have some really good shows, including Vegas Hockey Hub, but they also have daily content that's being put out on the network. So from Monday to Sunday, they upload every single day. So go to PRConnectionsRadio.com, where they have a bunch of amazing hosts who are putting out fantastic content for everyone all around the world. They also have some really good shows like Crypto and Cash, Love of Business, We Have the Power. They have Cozy Stone as well. So there's some really good content on PRConnectionsRadio.com. So I highly recommend going to the website and checking out what we have in store on PRConnectionsRadio.com. And speaking of which, we also have a YouTube channel as well. So if you want to go to the PR Connections Radio YouTube channel, if you want to subscribe to the network, it would help out Vegas Hockey Hub a lot. We upload every single day to the PR Connections Radio YouTube channel, and Vegas Hockey Hub is live at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday to Friday on PR Connections Radio. We also have a playlist as well, so if you don't want to miss any content of Vegas Hockey Hub, we have playlists on there so you can see every single content and all of the stuff that we upload to the network. So once again, go to the YouTube channel for PR Connections Radio and check out all of the good content on there as they upload every single day to the YouTube channel. So subscribe to the network at PR Connections Radio on YouTube. And if you also want to help out our brand as well, we are everywhere on social media. So if you want to subscribe and like and follow and share and tell all your friends around the world, go to @Vegas Hockey Hub as we are on all major platforms. We have a YouTube channel for Vegas Hockey Hub. So if you want to subscribe and get some exclusive content, we try to upload every single day to the YouTube channel. So @Vegas Hockey Hub. We also have our Facebook page as well. We try to upload content, try to interact and engage with all of our listeners on Facebook @Vegas Hockey Hub. We have an Instagram account where we upload to all the events that we go to @Vegas Hockey Hub. And on Twitter, we are also @Vegas Hockey Hub. So if you want to interact and engage and do live tweets for every single Vegas Golden Knights game, go to @Vegas Hockey Hub. And also go to our TikTok as well, as we are on there @Vegas Hockey Hub. So getting into the Henderson Silver Knights, what an interesting turn of events it has been over the last couple of weeks. Your Henderson Silver Knights are currently 20 wins, 20 losses, and 2 overtime losses in the AHL season. Now, this is also a team that just recently came off a devastating 3-2 loss to the Iowa Wild in their most previous matchup. And when it comes to the Henderson Silver Knights organization, this is a team that's building on momentum, an organization that's trying to really build off of what they have done in the month of January, what they're doing in the beginning of February. And just to really kind of show that and really kind of break down what has happened with your Henderson Silver Knights, I'm just going to kind of give you a brief recap of what happened in the month of January for your Henderson Silver Knights. So, kind of going back to what has happened as of late. So, they lost a 3-2 matchup against Iowa in their most recent matchup. But the game before that, they had an amazing game against Iowa as they would beat the Iowa Wild 8-1. And what a really good matchup that was. So your Vegas Golden Knights affiliate, Henderson Silver Knights, beating the Minnesota Wild affiliate, Iowa Wild, 8-1 on a Friday. That was actually one of their most recent games. Before that, they did have a couple of days off at the end of January. So I just want to very quickly recap what happened in the month of January for your Henderson Silver Knights. So on January 3rd, the Henderson Silver Knights would win their first game of the 2024 calendar as they would beat the San Diego Gulls, the affiliate of the Anaheim Ducks. They would win 6-3 on a Wednesday evening as they would beat San Diego. Then they would have a back-to-back matchup against Calgary. Unfortunately, they would lose both games against Calgary. It would be a 5-1 on Friday and would lose only 1-0 on Saturday. So, after almost a couple of days off, the next Friday, Saturday, they would take on the Milwaukee Admirals. And this is interesting because the Milwaukee Admirals and Henderson Silver Knights, this was the first time in a while that the Henderson Silver Knights would have gone up against the Milwaukee Admirals. And unfortunately for your Henderson Silver Knights, this did not go as planned, as the Milwaukee Admirals won on Tuesday as they won 2-0 in a shutout. And then Saturday would be an absolute tear for Milwaukee as Milwaukee Admirals would beat Henderson 7-0. So, in the month of January, 1 win, 4 losses in their first 5 games. And the Monday afterwards, on the 15th, it would not get better for your Henderson Silver Knights as they would lose to the Coachella Valley Firebirds, the affiliate of the Seattle Kraken, 5-2. So, not looking good for your Henderson Silver Knights. It would have to take a really good streak at the end of January to really turn this around for Henderson. And after picking up a random win against the Coachella Valley Firebirds on the 17th of January as they beat them 6-4, they would actually start another series against the Tucson Roadrunners, the affiliate of the Arizona Coyotes. And on the 19th, they would win 4-2, but then on the 20th would lose 3-2. And the positive win that they had on the 19th would actually not be the last win they would have on the month, as the Henderson Silver Knights would have 3 games left in the month of January, and they would lose all 3, as the Coachella Valley Firebirds would beat the Henderson Silver Knights 4-3. And then on back-to-back games on the last weekend of January, the Colorado Eagles, the affiliate of the Colorado Avalanche, they would beat Henderson 3-2 on the 26th and 4-3 on the 27th. So overall, for your Henderson Silver Knights, they went up against 12 games in the month of January. And in 12 games, they went 3-9, which is not a good record, by the way. That is definitely not a good record to have, considering what they did in the month prior. So, for your Henderson Silver Knights, this was an organization that's really trying to build momentum, but the month of January just was not it. Because outside their win against San Diego on January 3rd, and then their victory against Coachella on the 17th and Tucson on the 19th, they would lose every other game. But how would the stats look for your Henderson Silver Knights? How would the stats kind of hold up when it comes to your Silver Knights organization? Well, Gregory Diansenko would be the points leader for your Henderson Silver Knights, as in 42 games, he has 13 goals, 25 assists on the year for Diansenko. So, by far at this point in time, Diancenko is the best player for your Vegas Golden Knights. Gage Quinney, the local resident, the local guy from Nevada, he is actually second on that list as he has 7 goals, 17 assists on the year for the Henderson Silver Knights. Now, some other notable people who are doing well enough with your Henderson Silver Knights, Tyler Benson, who was a free agent acquisition from the Edmonton Oilers this past offseason, has 5 goals and 21 points this season for your Henderson Silver Knights. And Lucas Cormier, the top prospect, the best prospect Vegas has in their system, has 17 points in 37 games for your Vegas Golden Knights. And, speaking of top prospects, Brendan Bryson has 12 goals and 26 points in a little under 40 games played for your Henderson Silver Knights. Kind of going down a little bit of the roster, you have the AHL All-Star Adam Cracknell, who has 17 goals and 29 points in 44 games. Sheldon Rempel, in 41 games, has 20 goals and 11 assists for the Henderson Silver Knights. At this point in time, there is nobody on the organization who is averaging a point per game except for one person. There is one person with the Henderson Silver Knights who is averaging over a point per game, and that is Daniil Myromanov. As in 5 games played with the Henderson Silver Knights, he has 1 goal and 6 points with the organization. And, I do find it a bit interesting considering the rest of the players that I will mention, like Mason Morelli, who has 10 goals already on the year in 42 games for your Henderson Silver Knights. The captain of Henderson, Jake Bischoff, who has 2 goals and 14 assists with the Silver Knights as their captain. And then Byron Frazee, who has 8 goals and 15 points in 35 games. But overall, it has not been the best. That's not been the best for the Henderson Silver Knights. Now, the guys who lead in certain categories, I do want to mention this. Leighton Ayak has played in 46 games for the Henderson Silver Knights. He leads the entire Henderson Silver Knights roster in games played, which does make sense, by the way, because at this point in time, the Henderson Silver Knights, their record is 20 wins, 20 losses, and 2 overtime losses. So at this point, when it comes to your Henderson Silver Knights, there's a lot that we can talk about and really break down with this team. But yeah, Leighton Ayak leads the team in games played. Sheldon Rempel has 20 goals on the season, leads the Henderson Silver Knights in goals. Gregory Diancenko, he leads the team in assists and points. But interesting enough, Jake Bischoff, the captain of your Henderson Silver Knights, he leads your organization in plus-minus with a +3. On the negative effect, you have Leighton Ayak, who has the worst plus-minus with -15. And everyone loves to talk about penalty minutes. Well, Mason Gearston has a whopping 94 penalty minutes for your Henderson Silver Knights. Only has 2 points on the year, by the way. So, if anyone wants to know what Mason Gearston is there for, now you know the answer. 94 penalty minutes. He is pretty much averaging over 3 penalty minutes per game with the Henderson Silver Knights. When it comes to power play goals, Adam Cracknell leads the organization with 9 power play goals. So, to put that in perspective, in 17 goals, 9 of them have been on the power play. And when it comes to shorthanded goals, Dyson Mayo has 1 shorthanded goal. So out of the 4 goals he has had this year, 1 of them was shorthanded. And I mentioned with points per game, Daniil Myromanov has over a point per game. Diancenko and Rempel are kind of close. They're kind of under a point per game. Still impressive in their own right. And when it comes to shots on net, Sheldon Rempel has 158 shots on net. Almost nobody else on the Silver Knights has over 100 shots on net for the Henderson Silver Knights. But you know what? Let's move over to the goaltenders and let's break down what the goalies have been doing with the Henderson Silver Knights. So, Yuri Patara has had 16 games played for your Henderson Silver Knights and has a goals against average of 3.02, 7 wins, 6 losses, and 3 overtime losses for your Henderson Silver Knights. You also have a save percentage of 90.5. So when it comes to Yuri Patera, this is a guy who's kind of doing around average at this point for your Henderson Silver Knights. A rookie goaltender in Jesper Beckman has played in 10 games for your Henderson Silver Knights. He has a record of 5 wins, 4 losses, and 1 overtime loss. Now, Jesper Beckman, a 90.6 save percentage, like I said, goals against average of 3.15. Considering he's a rookie, putting into effect the fact that Jesper Beckman is a rookie. This is a young guy who the Vegas Golden Knights took in the draft a couple of years ago. He's still developing. He is going to take some time with your Henderson Silver Knights as he is only 21 years old. And then you have a guy who we talked about on the show very recently and did a player profile on, Isaiah Seville, has played in 10 games for your Henderson Silver Knights. He has 4 wins, 5 losses, and 1 overtime loss. He has a save percentage of 91.7, which is the second best out of any goalie in Henderson, and a goals against average of 2.57. Once again, the second best out of who has played so far. Jordan Papirny, who has been in 8 games in net for the Henderson Silver Knights. This guy came from the ECHL with the Savannah Ghost Pirates. He has 3 wins, 4 losses, and 1 overtime loss. He has a save percentage of 88.2 and a goals against average of 3.47. So, for Jordan Papirny, he is in the ECHL. He got called up to the Silver Knights organization when Patara and Seville were being called up to the NHL. So when it comes to ECHL goalies, he did what was kind of expected from an ECHL goalie. But someone who didn't, and someone who does get a lot of respect and should be given some attention, is Michael Bilon, as he has played in 2 games for the Henderson Silver Knights, but a really good 2 games for Henderson, as he has a 1 win, 1 loss for Henderson. But what matters the most is that he has a save percentage of 94.7, leads all 5 goalies in that category, and a goals against average of 1.53. So, kind of recapping the goalie situation with your Henderson Silver Knights, Yuri Patara has 7 wins on the year. Beckman has 5. Seville has 4. Papirny has 3. And then Bouillon has 1. And then when it comes to losses, Patara does lead everyone in losses with 6. But, like I mentioned, save percentage and goals against average does go to Bouillon. And Isaiah Seville actually has the most shutouts with just 1. So, kind of breaking down the Henderson Silver Knights in that sense, there is a lot that we are breaking down here on the show. But what's next with your Henderson Silver Knights? You know, what is next that we could really be talking about with this organization at this point? Because you have the 6 defensemen that are playing for the Henderson Silver Knights. You have Daniel Chaka, you have Lucas Cormier, Brandon Hickey, Leighton Ayak, Jake Bischoff, and Dyson Mayo. But then you also have the forwards. And for forwards, there are some really good players that are playing in Henderson right now. I already mentioned the gritty, the very physical Mason Gearston, who has around 100 penalty minutes at this point in Henderson. You have Mason Morelli, a very underrated and kind of undervalued guy in the AHL. They brought him over from New Jersey this past offseason. He's doing good as a middle six forward. You have Jacob Brabernick, who is a young prospect who they did sign this past offseason to an entry-level deal. You have Jacob Demick, who is actually on the opening day roster for your Vegas Golden Knights as a healthy scratch. Him being a prospect from Slovakia, he is kind of the youngest guy on the organization in the AHL, as Jacob Demick is only 20 years old in the AHL. So for Henderson, you have three guys who are 20 years old, and Demick is one of those guys. You have the all-star and a guy who's been in Vegas not once but twice now in Adam Cracknell. He is someone who's established, someone who's been here forever. He knows how to do the job. He's good at what he does. Byron Fries has done a relatively solid job this season, kind of transitioning from the NHL to the AHL. He's done a really good job. Mason Premu as a bottom six forward in the AHL. In his 6'6" frame, he stands out when you're watching him in the AHL because majority of the time he is the tallest person on the ice. And for Henderson's sake, he's the tallest guy on the roster. Gregory Dyanchenko has been the best player in Henderson. There's a reason why he got called up to Vegas around late December, early January. Because of the fact that, yes, they had some injuries, but more importantly, when it came to Gregory Dyanchenko, he has done an amazing job doing what he needs to do for your Henderson Silver Knights. And the fact that he leads in assists and points for Henderson, he's doing an amazing job. Tyler Benson, the former Edmonton Oiler, he has settled in as a middle six forward in the AHL for your Henderson Silver Knights. And I have to give a lot of credit to Tyler Benson because he has done a really stand-up job as being a bridge type of guy in the AHL. Gage Quinney, who feels like he has been with Henderson forever, and it's actually because he's been in the AHL for 7 years with the Vegas Golden Knights. He is a constant. He is someone who you can count on when it matters the most. He's a good top six forward. Daniel D'Amato has kind of been splitting between the AHL and the ECHL. And this is someone who has shown in the past that he could put the puck in the back of the net, but more importantly, he can get the puck to where it needs to be, and it will land and execute. And then lastly, you have Jet Jones, as Jet Jones is someone who doesn't get a lot of attention, and some people might not even know who he is. Jet Jones is a 21-year-old forward who has 1 goal in 9 games this season for the Henderson Silver Knights. However, he had a 2-point performance against Iowa in one of their most recent matchups. So for a guy like Jet Jones, who joined the organization in January, very young, he is someone you got to watch out for. A 21-year-old from Alberta. So when it comes to Jet Jones, him being a bottom six forward, we'll have to wait and see what he does long term. And I mentioned Daniel Chaka, the defenseman from Russia, from the KHL. This season for Chaka, he is someone who has really kind of progressed as a defenseman. Unfortunately, the Golden Knights do have some good depth at defenseman, so there's really no place for him to go. But for the 21-year-old, he has had 5 points this season in Henderson, and he's just really getting minutes and really trying to become a solid AHL defenseman at this point. And defenseman Lucas Cormier, the top prospect, the number 1 guy in the minor league system for your Henderson Silver Knights, the 21-year-old. He has 17 points on the year for your Henderson Silver Knights. To me, I look at his stuff and I go, all right, he's trying to progress, okay? He's trying to show that he can be a great player at the next level. You got to remember that last year in 62 games, he had 10 goals and 25 points. Now, this season, he doesn't have the same stat line. He only has 17 points already at this year. But when you really stop and analyze it, 100 games into his AHL career, he has 52 points as a AHLer. No doubt in my mind that when it comes to Lucas Cormier, him being the top guy, him being the best prospect that Vegas has, he will definitely get the call up at some point to be a permanent member of the Vegas Golden Knights. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. Now, for Brandon Hickey, this is someone who won the Kelly Cup in the ECHL back in 2023, and then he made his transition over to the AHL, joined the Golden Knights organization, and in 22 games this year has 1 goal and 5 points in Henderson for Brandon Hickey. And this is someone who's kind of a middle defensive pairing, second line, third line defensive pairing, and he is someone who is a veteran at this point, 26, 27 years old in the AHL. They're currently teaming him up with a 21-year-old who is a top prospect in the Vegas Golden Knights system. That's why he is here. Similar to how Jake Bischoff, the captain of the Henderson Silver Knights, he is on the same line as a very young Leighton Ayak, who is about 7 years younger than Jake Bischoff. As a matter of fact, the Henderson Silver Knights are kind of been known for doing this, for having a veteran lined up with a top prospect or a captain with a prospect. You know, essentially having a veteran, someone who's been there for a long time, helping out a young, up-and-coming defenseman. And like I mentioned with the forwards, I mean, it's to me a similar situation where you have Gearston, but then you have Brabirnik. And Brabirnik is a 20-year-old, one of the only two 20-year-olds that are on the roster for your Henderson Silver Knights. And they're on the same line and on the same team as Mason Gearston, who is a 27-year-old who has been in the AHL for a long time, someone who has been here and done it, and that's why he's on the same line. Similar to how, for a little bit, Jacob Demick, as a 20-year-old, had to be teamed up with someone who is about 18 years older than him, and that's AHL All-Star. So when it comes to Adam Cracknell, when it comes to Byron Fraze, the fact that you have these two young guys, and Brabirnik and Demick, who are 20 years old, then you have these two guys who are in their 30s who have been in the AHL, but they know what they're doing, and they are going to be leaders in the locker room. You can respect that, and you can appreciate that in Henderson. So essentially what you have to do in that case is you have to be on a two-way contract. So when you're on a two-way contract, it means that you are able to go from the AHL to the NHL without taking a waiver or without taking a hit. The only way that you can go from the Henderson Silver Knights to the Vegas Golden Knights and you're not on a two-way contract is to be an emergency loan. So let's say that there is an injury, for example. I'm just going to use a random person, okay? Let's say that for the sake of the argument, there is an injury to a key player of the Vegas Golden Knights. Let's say Nick Hague, all right, for example. Nick Hague, he gets injured at the last minute. The Vegas Golden Knights will be able to call up somebody like a Jake Bischoff or call up someone like Lucas Cormier on an emergency loan, and they will be able to play in Vegas for a short period of time until that player comes back. Then they'd be forced to be sent back down. Hopefully that answers that question. But essentially what status you have to be able to go from Vegas to Henderson or Henderson to Vegas is a two-way contract, and or you have to be on an emergency loan. Now, if you're on the Vegas Golden Knights organization and they want to send you down to Henderson, they will put you on what they call waivers. And if nobody claims you, you can be sent down immediately to Henderson. So hopefully that answers it, as we have had a great episode here of Vegas Hockey Hub as we've been discussing the Henderson Silver Knights. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And once again, continue watching hockey, go support junior hockey, and go Knights, go.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.